I was 34 when it happened, but I'd already felt older than that. Tired in a way that coffee can't fix. The kind of tired that comes from pretending your life's going okay when it's really held together by duct tape and denial. My cousin Lydia was getting married, and she insisted I come up to Cold Hollow, Vermont. Population don't blink, or you'll miss it. I hadn't seen Lydia in years, not since we were kids getting poison ivy in our grandma's backyard. But she wanted me as her maid of honor, so I packed my suitcase, kissed my three-legged cat goodbye, and flew out of Minneapolis on a red-eye with recycled air and a plastic cup of soda that tasted faintly of disinfectant. The hotel she'd reserved for me was called the Velvet Pines. Sounded fancy. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. From the outside, it looked like the kind of place where bad dreams are born. Brown bricks, yellowed windows, and an old neon sign that buzzed like it had opinions. But I was exhausted, and when you've been up since 2:45 in the morning, your standards slide. A guy at the front desk greeted me. Young, maybe 20, with hair that hadn't seen shampoo in a week, and a face that looked like it was permanently surprised. Still, he was polite, offered to carry my suitcase, even though I told him I had it. My room was on the 4th floor, and everything about it screamed budget upgrade. There was a faint stain on the ceiling that looked like a cloud, or maybe a bat. I lay down on the creaky mattress and passed out cold. When I woke up, the sky outside was already dark. My phone said 6:11 p.m. My stomach roared. I hadn't eaten since some pretzels at the gate. I Googled restaurants nearby, and Cold Hollow delivered exactly one thing: disappointment. The only option under a 10-minute walk was a rundown fast food joint called Chicken King. Not to be confused with chicken or a king. I pulled on my jacket and scarf, the wind outside whistling like an old man with secrets. It was bitterly cold, like the kind of cold that gets inside your coat and taps your bones with icy fingers. Chicken King was all flickering fluorescent lights and grease smell. I ordered a wilted salad and forced it down while staring at the kind of decor that hadn't been updated since Clinton was in office. The walk back was worse. The wind had teeth now, and the streetlights flickered like they weren't sure whether they wanted to stay alive. I walked faster, boots crunching over salt-strewn sidewalks. That's when I heard the engine, low and slow, like something creeping through a bad dream. A white pickup truck rolled up beside me, crawling to a stop. The driver leaned out, bearded, mid-40s, skin like leather left out in the sun too long, and a ball cap pulled down low. "You sure you want to be walking here this late?" he said, his voice deep and even, like someone who didn't need to raise it to be scary. I smiled, polite, but guarded. "I'm fine. My hotel's just up the block." He looked up the street toward the Velvet Pines, then back at me. "I can take you. I'm going that way." I shook my head. "No thanks." He watched me a little longer than he needed to. Then, slowly, the truck rolled on. Back in my room, I tried to calm myself with TV, some old sitcom reruns playing too brightly in a room that felt a little too dim. But the salad hadn't been enough, and the hunger gnawed at me like a restless animal. I went downstairs, hoping to find a vending machine. The lobby was empty, no sign of the desk clerk. I wandered to the left hallway, past a faded fitness center sign, but nothing. Just an emergency exit and a snow-covered courtyard outside. The world had turned white in the time I was gone, snow falling thick and heavy, blanketing everything. It was eerily beautiful in the way a graveyard might be during a blizzard. I stood for a while just watching the flakes drift down in silence, until the cold seeped into my spine and I turned back. The desk clerk was back, except it wasn't the kid. It was someone older, a man in his late 50s with a voice like gravel and skin that looked stretched too tight. He pointed me down a different hallway, past the pool, around a corner, and finally, I found the vending machine. I bought a cookie and a bag of off-brand chips and headed back. That's when I saw him, the man from the truck. I caught a glimpse of him just as I passed the lobby. He was stepping through the front entrance, brushing snow off his coat. My blood ran colder than the wind outside. I didn't know how he knew where I was staying, but I wasn't about to ask. I mashed the elevator button. When the doors dinged open, I jumped inside and jabbed the button for the 4th floor. Just before the doors closed, I heard him behind me. "Hey, hold up." My heart felt like it stopped, just for a second. Back in my room, I slammed the door and locked it, deadbolt, chain, and the chair wedged under the knob for good measure. I paced. I told myself he hadn't seen what floor I got off on. I told myself I was safe, but safe is a slippery word. It doesn't mean much when you're alone at night with nobody to back you up. At 10:42 p.m., the room phone rang. I stared at it. It rang again. I picked it up. "Sorry about earlier," said a voice, rough and steady. "I'm here now, though." I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My fingers went numb, and I slowly placed the phone back on the receiver. 30 seconds later, someone knocked. I tiptoed to the door and looked through the peephole. It was him. Hat, beard, that same smile, the kind that doesn't touch the eyes. He stood there for a long time, then he left. I wanted to call the front desk, but what if he was down there? What if he was the clerk? An hour passed. I finally cracked and went downstairs. The lobby was empty again. I hit the bell over and over until someone came out. A woman this time, maybe in her 30s, eyes wide like mine. I told her everything. She listened, then called the shift manager. Put the phone on speaker. The voice on the other end sounded nervous. "That guy said he was your husband. Said you two had a fight earlier. Said he wanted to surprise you. I'm sorry. I let him book a room. I felt the floor vanish beneath me." "Which room?" I whispered. "Across from yours," he said. "I lost it. Just broke." I begged the woman to walk me back to my room, but she said she needed a manager's approval to kick someone out. Said she'd try. I told her to forget it. I just needed to get inside and lock the door. I took the elevator alone, praying all the way up. When I stepped out, I looked both ways. Quiet. Empty. I ran. As I reached my door, I heard his door click open. He was standing there, smiling again, like he'd never moved. I screamed, "Leave me alone." He didn't. He charged. I slammed the door shut just in time, throwing the bolt, feeling the frame shudder as he hit it hard. Then came the pounding, the screaming, animal sounds. I called 911 with shaking fingers and hid in the closet, gripping the kitchen knife like it was the only thing keeping me tethered to the world. Everything after that was chaos and blur, red and blue lights flashing through the curtains, voices, a knock at the door, 3 cops, safety, maybe. They took my statement, said he was gone. The woman at the desk promised he wouldn't be back, but I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. The wedding came and went. Lydia never knew. I smiled in photos and held her bouquet and danced like nothing had happened. But I never went back to Vermont, and sometimes on quiet nights when I hear a car pull up slow outside my building, I remember his voice on the phone. I'm here now, though. It was the summer of 2010, the kind of summer that presses down on your skin like a hot breath. I was 12 then, just beginning to teeter on the edge of adolescence, like a cat peering down from a windowsill. My folks, for reasons I never quite understood, some family event maybe, or just one of those unspoken decisions adults make, packed us up for a short stay in a swanky downtown hotel. Not just us either. Some of our family friends were in on it too. We ended up filling a row of rooms on the same floor, like mismatched puzzle pieces in a shared picture. Even then, I was the kind of kid who double-checked the closet, kept the nightlight on, and didn't like the silence too much. I wasn't weak exactly, just cautious. The world has sharp edges and some kids see them sooner than others. I saw them early, felt them in the soles of my feet. The hotel was strange. It wasn't old and creaky like you'd expect in one of these stories. No, this place was glossy and modern, polished to the point where you felt like you were standing inside a phone screen. But it had quirks. One big one. The lobby was on the 4th floor, not the 1st. You had to take the elevator to get there. Stairs didn't connect to it. You couldn't walk into the lobby from the street. I didn't think much of it then, but later, well, you'll see. The hotel was built like a square donut. The inside of the donut was hollow, like an atrium, so every floor had a railing you could look over and see the lobby far below. The kind of place where you're always visible. You couldn't sneak anywhere in this place without someone spotting you from above or below. My paranoid little brain kept imagining myself slipping over the edge of the balcony and plummeting 4 or 5 stories down onto the shiny tile like a dropped doll. But the railings were high enough to make it unlikely, unless you were trying. The first couple of days were normal. We played cards, wandered the halls whispering ghost stories, and stuffed ourselves on microwave popcorn and soda. The kind of memories you look back on fondly, even if they didn't seem that special at the time. But on the 3rd day, something happened that carved a permanent notch into my memory. Not the kind you wrap in nostalgia, but the kind you wrap in caution tape. It was early, too early. I remember because the sun hadn't fully risen, just a faint orange smear over the city. I was jolted awake by the sound of someone screaming. A woman's scream, sharp and cracking at the edges. It echoed, bouncing off the polished surfaces of the hotel's interior. I scrambled out of bed, heart pounding, and peeked out the door. Leaning over the balcony, I saw her, a girl, unmoving, lying in the middle of the lobby tiles below, surrounded by broken eggs and a small lake of milk. People were rushing toward her, some shouting for help, others fumbling with phones. My family and some of our friends were already down there watching, frozen. I bolted toward the elevator, but it was on the other end of the hallway. Instead, I turned to the stairwell just a few doors down. I figured I'd hop down a few flights and come out on the lobby floor. I passed floor 6, then 5, then 4. No door. I kept descending. 3, 2, still nothing. No exit to the lobby, no signs, no windows. Just the same grey concrete winding around me, tighter and colder the farther I went. I should have gone back up. I knew I should have, but I didn't. Maybe I was still half asleep. Maybe I didn't want to admit I was lost. Eventually I reached the bottom, a low-ceilinged, cold room with cinder-block walls and fluorescent lighting that buzzed like flies. At the far end were double doors. I pushed them open, expecting maybe a back hallway or kitchen. Instead, I stepped into something like a gymnasium-sized warehouse. Empty except for stacked furniture wrapped in plastic, and rows of boxes like cardboard gravestones. The air was thick with dust and something else, an oily kind of stillness, like the place hadn't been touched in years. At the back I spotted an elevator, bigger than the others. It had a keycard swiper. I pressed the button. Nothing. Dead. I turned back to the double doors. Locked. That's when the panic began to crawl up my throat. No phone, no way out. No one knew I was down there. The silence was too wide, too aware. I moved through the warehouse, checking every possible exit. Found another set of doors on the far side, locked too. My legs started shaking. I think I even cried, not loud sobs, just quiet, choked noises like air leaking out of a balloon. Then I heard it. A creak. One of the locked doors slowly opening. A man stepped through. Thin, pale, wearing a white lab coat like he just stepped out of a hospital scene on TV. Balding, glasses, maybe in his 40s. At 12, I didn't think to question why someone like that would be in a hotel basement. I just saw adult and authority, and I ran to him like he was a lifeboat. He was startled to see me. "What are you doing down here?" he asked, voice sharp. I got lost, I said, trying not to sob. Do you have a key? I'm locked in. He didn't answer that, just nodded toward the back. I know another way. Come on. I followed. What else was I supposed to do? We walked past the stairwell doors, the ones I had come through, the ones I knew were the way out. I stopped. Isn't it this way? He turned, just slightly, just enough for me to catch the sweat glistening on his temple. He licked his lips and said, No, keep walking. We moved into the darker part of the room, where the shadows thickened between the boxes. My gut twisted. He looked around like he'd never been here before, like I knew this place better than he did. The air was too still again, like it was holding its breath. I stopped. Where are we going? I asked. He didn't look at me. Just follow me. That's when I knew. I wasn't being rescued. I wasn't going anywhere safe. I screamed. I don't remember what I screamed. Just raw, loud, desperate sounds. My throat burned, my chest hurt, but I didn't stop. He shouted at me, covered his ears. Then he snapped, rushed forward and grabbed me by the leg, dragging me toward the far wall like I was a bag of garbage. I kicked, thrashed, howled. His grip was weak. He was desperate, not strong. I clawed at the floor until the door burst open. A janitor, big guy, eyes wide, mop still in hand. He shouted. The man in the lab coat froze. Let him go. He did. I scrambled behind the janitor. My heart was doing a drum solo in my chest. The man tried to explain, said he was looking for a bathroom. The janitor didn't buy it. He radioed for help, eyes never leaving the lab coat guy. Quietly, he whispered into the walkie. There's a man down here, not one of ours. Get security. Eventually, someone from the front desk came down and led me upstairs. My family was still in the lobby, still shaken from the incident with the girl. They didn't even realize I'd vanished. I told them everything, cried into my dad's chest until my voice gave out. Later, we found out the basement door the man came through led to a side alley. A public entrance, sort of, meant for deliveries. No lock, no cameras. I never saw the man again. Never heard what happened to him. But sometimes, even now, I think about his eyes, how empty they looked, like someone else was wearing his skin. I was 21 when I made the kind of choice that sounds small to everyone else, but shifts something in your bones. It was March of 2010, and I'd been bouncing between night classes and shifts at a recreational center on the southern coast of Maine. Clean halls, chlorine-stinking pools, and the kind of fluorescent lighting that makes everything, including your own face in the mirror, look a little too honest. I was on a quiet streak of trying to become someone better than I had been. No drugs, no flaky friends, and no skipping lectures because I felt existential that day. So when my supervisor offered to sponsor me for an emergency lifeguard course hosted 2 towns over, I said yes in a heartbeat. They were going to pay for the whole thing, gas, lodging, training, food. Said it would look good on me, and I believed them. I packed a duffel bag, kissed my old cat goodbye, and hit the road in my scratched-up Corolla like I was heading off to save the world. The course was broken into 2 phases, 3 days on, 4 off, and then 3 more to wrap it all up. The first stint was painless. I stayed in a motel by the harbor, a humble but warm place with the faint smell of maple syrup baked into its walls, the kind of place with those ugly floral quilts and friendly front desk ladies who call you sweetheart and don't care if you're 5 minutes late to breakfast. I slept like a log, filled my notebook with CPR instructions, and thought, this is what being a responsible adult feels like. The trouble started before the second half of the course. I was sitting at my kitchen table with a microwaved cup of tomato soup when my supervisor texted me, Hey, sorry. Harbor Inn's fully booked. Had to put you in a different place this time. Downtown View Motel. Not the best-looking place, but you'll survive. I looked it up. The website was half broken and the photos were all taken on a cloudy day by someone with the photographic eye of a potato. The outside looked like a dental office from 1987 that had fallen on hard times. But it was just 2 nights. I figured I'd be fine. When I got back to the training center that next morning, a girl named Nora, local, sharp-tongued, probably early 30s, overheard me talking about the new hotel. Her face dropped. "That place?" she said. "No parking. You'll get towed in 2 hours if you leave your car anywhere near it. Best to leave your car here. I'll drop you off, pick you up. Safer that way." Normally I'd decline that kind of offer. But Nora felt different. She spoke in a way that didn't invite argument. And maybe deep down, I didn't want to say no. Not when her tone made it sound like there were things she wasn't saying. So I left my car. After our session, she drove me downtown and pulled up in front of the hotel just after sunset. "It used to be a boarding house," she said, eyes flicking to the front door. "Family run. Don't expect much. Fast food's your only option for dinner, Subway or that McDonald's a block over. No kitchen inside." I thanked her. She gave me a look, one of those unreadable ones that makes you feel like you're being handed an invisible map, and drove off. Inside, the lobby was weirdly clean, like someone had just wiped every surface with bleach and sorrow. Construction tape hung from one of the side corridors. A small woman with an asymmetrical bob stood behind the desk. She smiled when she saw me and said, "You've been upgraded." I blinked. "Why?" She shrugged. "No clue. But it's one of the executive rooms. Lucky you." She gave me a keycard and walked me to the elevator, silent the whole way except to explain, "You'll need the card again to access that floor. Keeps the area private." The hallway was long, dimly lit, and smelled like freshly opened cardboard. The door clicked open, and I stepped into the nicest room I'd ever been in. Queen bed with plush pillows, TV logged into Netflix already, a tiny glass table stacked with bottled water and buttery shortbread. The bathroom was upstairs. Yes, it had stairs, and I had my own balcony facing a cold-lit alley. I sat down, kicked off my shoes, and for a brief moment, I felt like someone else. Someone more expensive. I watched a couple episodes of The Office, laughed a little, then my stomach growled. I slipped into my hoodie and headed to McDonald's. It was darker outside than I realized. The streets felt off, quiet but not peaceful, like someone had hit the mute button on the whole town. On my way back, that's when I saw him. A man in a fitted suit stood near the entrance to the executive floor. His face was expressionless, composed, yet unreadable. We locked eyes for 1 second longer than comfort allowed. I tried to pass him with that awkward half smile you give strangers, swiped my key. The door opened, and he followed me in. I knew instantly something was wrong. His steps didn't make noise. I panicked, my whole chest buzzing with static, and bolted for my room. I heard him behind me, his pace never changing, like a metronome. I shoved my door open with trembling hands and slammed it behind me. I stood with my back pressed against it, breath catching in my throat. Didn't call the front desk. Don't ask me why. I just felt like I shouldn't, like it wouldn't make a difference. I turned on the shower and tried to scrub the nerves off me. I left the bathroom door open, angled so I could see the front door in the mirror as I brushed my teeth. That's when I heard the soft click. I froze. My eyes snapped to the mirror, and my stomach flipped. The front door was open, not cracked, not unlatched. Wide. Open. I slammed the bathroom door, locked it, and backed into the corner. Tears came fast, uninvited and hot. I texted my best friend, fingers shaking. She replied instantly, told me to calm down, said it was probably nothing. I gave her the hotel name and room number and told her, if I don't text you in 5 minutes, call the police. When I stepped out, the room looked the same. Bed untouched, no one under it. Closet empty. The only thing off was the door, now closed. I tried to use the bolt lock, the kind most hotels have, but there wasn't one. When I came to, a loud slam jolted me awake. The room was cold and I was drenched in sweat. I sat up groggily, blinking at the small table. There were more bottles of water on it, a lot more, and next to them, one black sock. It wasn't mine. I checked my bag. One of my socks, pink-striped, unmistakable, was missing its pair. In its place, this stranger's sock. Like someone had traded it. Like someone had been in there. Again. I didn't tell the staff, didn't want to, didn't trust them. I pushed the dresser against the door that night. Slept in clothes. Slept with shoes on. The morning of my checkout, the front desk was manned by an old man I hadn't seen before. He looked like he belonged in a faded photograph. Sepia-toned, hands too still. "Did you enjoy your room?" he asked. I smiled weakly. "Sure, your manager called ahead. Said you were one of the younger ones. I like to give the quiet rooms to girls like you." Then he winked, told me to leave a glowing review. I passed my assessment that day, drove home, told myself to forget it. But I didn't. Later that night, curled up with my cat and my laptop, I found the motel's reviews online. Just 4. Only 4. 3 of them, 3, had warnings. Women report men entering their rooms uninvited. No apology, no security. Staff deny everything. That's when I knew. I hadn't imagined it. Someone, maybe more than one person, had been entering that room while I slept. Walking where I walked. Wearing what I wore, breathing my air. I reported it to my manager. They say they're investigating, but I still see that black sock in my mind, and I still check the locks every single night.